Hey, this is Don from Padlock Technologies again with another impromptu video because I just got this question and it's on top of mind. So I feel like I need to get an answer out before I totally forget about it. So, what is this video going to be about? It's going to be about TrustSec versus adaptive policy, which is Meraki's version of TrustSec. If you don't know anything about TrustSec, I'm gonna put a video over there somewhere that'll point you to the TrustSec video. Now, this is normal TrustSec. This is not adaptive policy, so you got to be careful. So, what is adaptive policy versus TrustSec? So, TrustSec is basically a way to do a different kind of enforcement method by decoupling policy from subnet. So, basically, what you're going to do is when people authenticate to your network using 802.1x or MAB, or even from a VPN domain, they're going to get this thing called a security group tag, and then you're going to propagate that tag out, and then you're going to enforce that tag using some policy at some enforcement point. So if we're talking about the whole gambit here, is going to be classification, which is you creating your tag structure, then propagation, which is going to be either SXP or inline tagging. Inline tagging is more of an equipment or hardware specific thing because not every platform supports inline tagging. SXP is a control plane mechanism that is going to give the bindings or the SGT to IP bindings to your enforcement point because you don't need to do it everywhere. And then obviously there's enforcement, which is going to be your TrustSec matrix and which you're going to put your policies down to, right? Adaptive policy in Meraki is sort of the same thing, works a little bit differently though, right? So first off, the limitation on Meraki adaptive policy is 60 tags. And why would they do that? Well, Cisco they kind of did a looked over their customer base and said, okay, what is the average amount of tags that a company would use? And they came up with the number 24, looking at everybody's deployment. And they say, okay, most deployments are going to have an average of 24 tags. And that's why I always say you want to keep your tagging structure between 15 and 24 tags because just like Cisco thought, most people, when you get past 24 tags, your trust set matrix is pretty much unmanageable. And you don't want to get into an unmanageable trust set matrix because it just makes trust set a pain in the butt, right? So the limitation on Meraki's platform is 60 tags. So they'll allow up to 60 tags, and then everything else, it won't actually take any more tags than that, right? On the back end, at least. So so that's the one limitation. On regular TrustSec with Cisco ICE, you can have as many, well, I'm not going to say you can have as many tags as you want, but you can have way more than 60 tags if you want to go down that rabbit hole, that path of managing as a tag structure over 60 tags, right? Or a trusted matrix over 60 tags. The other thing is there is no SXP, right? For propagations, not happening, right? You have to use inline tagging, right? And what inline tagging basically is it takes the security group tag and it puts it in this thing called SMD, which is not command prompt, it's Cisco metadata. So it's going to be in the frame and then it uses that tagging information that it gets in the frame to actually make its decision, right? So this is when you're doing enforcement as close to the source as possible because like I said, and you'll see in that TrustSec video if you watch it, it's going to be you need the source and destination tag. You need I'm just watch the video. I'm not going to get into what you need from a TrustSec perspective for it to work, right? But you need at least the source, that's the source tag, IP mapping, destination tag, IP mapping, right? Inline tagging allows you to send that or propagate that throughout the entire network without using the control plane method of SXP, right? Now, Meraki does not support SXP from at least what I know. It does not support SXP. So you have to use inline tagging all the way through your infrastructure to get this to work, right? Unless you're doing non-Meraki equipment that can support inline tagging. Case in point, you can have Meraki at the access layer, do inline tagging to like a catalyst switch upstream, right? You can do inline tagging there, right? Like a 99K or something like that. Now, if you don't have that and you try to do inline tagging, the switch upstream will just drop the frame because it doesn't understand the inline tagging. It doesn't understand the tagging that's in there. That's why it's very important to make sure that if you're going to do Meraki based adaptive policies, you better make sure it's supported, inline tagging is supported through your entire infrastructure, or you're going to start dropping frames and stuff like that, which will cause a bigger problem. So that is now the other thing I would say from a difference is you can still sync your tagging structure from ICE with ICE 3.2. You can sync your tagging structure to the Meraki dashboard, right? Um, so that's a good thing that you can do there. But in ICE, in normal TrustSec, you don't do that. You just do it within ICE. You don't sync it to Meraki or anything like that. So that's another difference between normal TrustSec in ICE and Meraki's adaptive policy. So which one should you choose? Um, I would say, well, you're still going to have to utilize ICE anyway, right? I would say you're going to utilize ICE anyway. But if you want to take advantage of, first of all, if your tag instruction is very small, again, 15 to 24 tags, and you're a Meraki shop, then you can use adaptive policy perfectly fine, right? Even if you want to mix adaptive policy at the edge and still do normal TrustSec, from an enforcement standpoint at a non-Meraki device, you can do that as well, right? So there really isn't any no, go this way or go that way. You can actually combine the two depending on the equipment that you're using. But just know from a limitation standpoint, if you're about to use SXP at the enforcement point to share that tagging information, you can't use Meraki anywhere in that enforcement point because it's not going to work, right? It doesn't support SXP. So just look out for that. So hopefully that answers the question. If this was informative and you really like this video, don't forget to share, comment, like, and subscribe. Hopefully, you're going to put some comments in here for any other questions you want. If you do have some questions, there's also going to be a video bumper at the end where you can send your questions. Just like I just got this impromptu question. If I got the answer in my brain, I'll run down here and create a video for it and then let you know that, hey, I created a video for you. This is Don for Padlock Technologies again. Thank you and have a nice day.